Does your heart sink if your child presents you with the same book you read yesterday? One of the hard bits about reading with children, and specifically reading what they love, is that they often want to read the same story over and over again. I know that sinking feeling as you get your child to choose a bedtime story and it's that book again. Likewise, having a reading book from school for a week can feel frustrating, and from the other side, I've lost track of the number of parents demanding a change of book because their child has read it now. But there is a reason why teachers and children want to read the same book more than one or 10 times. In fact, there are a few reasons that make this apparently pointless task really important to the reading process. The first time a child reads a book to you, they're probably working out or decoding a number of the words. There may be some stumbling over words and switching to sounding them out. If they can read all the words, there may be some that they are completely new or unfamiliar or in new contexts. The first time of reading a new text is focused on word level and checking that they know what all the words mean. The second read through, the words are going to be easier, hopefully, and now you can read for meaning. This time round you're reading sentences and understanding how they relate to each other. On the third read through, it now makes sense. It's going to be much more enjoyable to read, and your child can add extra meaning with how they read it, adding intonation. If it's a happy story, it can skip along, be higher toned than a scarier setting. That is the nuts and bolts elements of reading and the reasons why several read-throughs are much more productive. But it goes beyond this. There's a social element to reading as well. You might be reading a school book because it's been sent home with the expectation you'll do the homework. But making reading a social event is helpful in making it pleasurable, whether you have to do it or reading your own book. Reading can be solitary, but with children it very often is a joint experience. It can be a way to bond, a chance to snuggle up and spend uninterrupted time together. Children want their parents' time and focus, so giving it to them in a reading session is going to be a positive thing. When I read a bedtime story with my children, they went through a phase of wanting a book called Good Night, Good Night by Eve Rice. It was familiar, safe, and comforting. It didn't matter that we'd read it repeatedly or that they knew it. They wanted that routine before bedtime rather than something new or stimulating. They grew out of it eventually and we moved on, but for a time we had Good Night, Good Night every night. At the end of the day, a book can be a comfort, like your favourite meal, song, or film. If you have an old favourite, it's possible to be playful with the read-through. The easiest way is to take turns and share the reading. It might mean alternating who reads a sentence or paragraph, or taking characters in the story. You could be reading the text and your child reading the speech with added emotion, or vice versa. I worked with a teacher who loved to end the day with Not Now Bernard by David McKee and change out the characters for children in the class. The children loved being picked to be Bernard, Mother, Father, or, spoiler alert, the monster. Finally, reading again and again can be part of the learning experience. This final one is most often used in school and is taking a known book and using it to learn how to make your own story. There are two ways to do this: using the structure of the book and adding your own settings or characters to make creating a whole story manageable for the child. It's hard to come up with a whole story yourself with all the different elements. Using a structure like this helps develop characterization, world building, and settings in a shorter time frame. The other way is deconstructing the book. This is a longer process and happens from the early days in school with something like the Gruffalo through to analysing Shakespeare for GCSEs in secondary school. Understanding how celebrated writers have made their books can help comprehension. As children get older, if they choose to read, they will probably read favourite stories a number of times. Until that point, their adults will be pulled into repeatedly reading with them. Hopefully this has explained a bit why this is a good part of their reading development and taken the edge off the pain of having to visit the same book over and over again. Next Wednesday's post will be about asking questions and why it is useful.